How is it going, everybody? Welcome back again for some more Magic. I decided today to play a little bit with my newly completed lizard deck, my Rakdos Lizards, calling it the Gila monster because I thought it was fitting. I'll get more into that, probably into the games, but so we've got, I'm sure everyone's already seen by now, Rakdos Lizard decks. They're very popular, they're very effective. I'll be playing ranked today with this deck. I did a draft of a Rakdos Lizard deck or a sealed Bloomburrow Midweek Magic with one previously. So this is similar, and you'll get to see what I do with Standard versus only using Bloomburrow cards. Pretty similar, I'd say, to most other Lizard decks that you see. Standard is fraught with different aggro decks right now, so it is sort of just the way of things until there's something new that beats it that comes out. Obviously, mono red and mice are very, very strong and popular right now, but lizards should not be overlooked by any means. They are still extremely powerful and fun. Let's see, I'll get straight into what I've got here. 2 cutdowns, could be more if you wanted to adjust things to have more. I wouldn't blame you. I do have a fair amount of removal in this deck, but it is still an aggro deck, so I've prioritized dealing damage quickly over removal. And cutdown is just less effective against things that finally do get out bigger creatures that could contest what I've already got on the board. Iridescent Vine Lasher, truly ridiculously good card, as well as Hired Claw. Iridescent Vine Lasher and Hired Claw, both 1-drops. The Iridescent Vine Lasher is a 1-drop black 1/2, so it's actually got a little bit of toughness, pretty useful. Has landfall whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. It deals 1 damage to a target opponent, so that is actually a crime synergy. Not that we utilize it in this deck, but you can use Iridescent Vine Lasher in crime decks as well. Just by playing lands, you trigger a crime that automatically deals damage to your opponent and can potentially trigger other abilities. The Hired Claw is a 1-drop red 1/2. Whenever I attack, you attack with 1 or more lizards, Hired Claw deals 1 damage to target opponent. Another crime synergy. You can pay 2 to put a 1/1 counter on Hired Claw, and this ability can only be activated if an opponent has lost life this turn, and you can only activate it once per turn. But essentially, you can play Hired Claw turn 1, attack with it, and then during that attack step, after it has dealt its damage for attacking with a lizard, get the ability to pump it up stronger, which can be a really nice way of removing opponents' creatures if they decide to try and block and cheat it out, like chump it out or something. So you've got a really good utility to keep Hired Claw alive, as well as a mana sink late game if you're low on cards, which shouldn't be the case, but if you're having trouble drawing into anything and you got a Hired Claw out and you just got 2 mana open, you can pump in damage. And sometimes you'll be playing something like up against a bat deck, and they will hurt themselves on their own turn using a pain land. It doesn't even have to be a bat deck, but that can happen where the opponent will take damage on their own turn, and you can trigger this ability again on your opponent's turn if that's the case. Because you can only do it once per turn, but you can do it on any turn at least once. Go for the throat, more removal. Removal is extremely important. As I said, aggro is just the way of things right now, so you're going to run into a lot of things that you're going to have to just kind of clear out of your way, starting from very early, so that's why cutdown is still included. You could run things like Savor, things like that, as I did in my Bloomburrow Lizard deck, but it's not as good. It only deals with up to 2 toughness. That can be really helpful when you're up against, for example, that mouse that gets bigger and then deals damage to you when it dies equal to its power. However, if it gets to be above that 3 toughness, then it stops being useful. You've got here, I'll go ahead and jump over here to Virtue of Persistence since it's in that same realm. It is removal. It does -3/-3, so it is fantastic against that mouse, as long as it's not more than like a 3/3 or, 3 toughness at the very least. It will reduce the amount of damage you take after it dies as well, and gain you 2 life upon killing it, so ideal removal for this aggro-centric standard format. As well as having a nice secondary ability of being able to bring creatures back if you get it out on the field, but I'll be honest, you usually aren't going to make it to that late in the game at this stage. And if you do, then you're most likely playing against a deck that will either remove it or counter it, so I wouldn't rely on that very heavily. We've got Valley Rotcaller. I realize this isn't a lizard, but he synergizes very, very well with lizards. It has Menace, is a 1/3 for 2 mana, which is already really good on its own, but whenever Valley Rotcaller attacks, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats you control. Not only is this good because this is a lizard deck, so every other creature other than itself that you have out on the field is going to trigger for that X, pumping it up, getting you more gain and drain. But since we're running Laughing Jasper, if you are able to steal a creature of any of these creature types, they will also count towards his gain and drain. So, very, very good. Synergizes not only really well with this deck in general, but also with things like Laughing Jasper. You can also steal things with Virtue of Persistence if that comes up, so there are a few ways for us to make use of opponents' cards that can still lean into Valley Rotcaller. Let's see, what else we got here? I'll go and jump over here. We have Scales of Shale. This is a 3-drop. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each lizard you control, so very often it will be either a 1-drop or a 2-drop as opposed to a 3-drop. And target creature gets +2/+0 and gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. So, as you can see, as a pretty common theme between the Valley Rotcaller, Scales of Shale, Virtue of Persistence, I have a lot of life gain mechanics, whether they be large or not, in this deck to help mitigate those matchups against other aggro decks. So that's really the long and short of it. There's a lot of combat tricks you can do here, but the main purpose of these cards is to try and heal where your opponent might be trying to race you. That gives you a little bit of an edge in a pure aggro versus aggro matchup to where you're getting life back while they're losing things and running out of gas, whereas I'm essentially building up. So that's why I jumped ahead over to the Scales of Shale. Very good, and the combat trick of Indestructible for potentially a 1 mana is extremely useful. Being able to save a Jasper, Flamecaller, any of these things. Gev especially, let somebody pay the ward of 2 life and then make Gev indestructible. They usually are pretty upset about that. We've got Flamecash Gecko, essentially one of the best cards in this, in my opinion. The fact that you can go turn 2 and play any number of Flamecash Geckos in your hand, assuming that you're able to deal damage, usually with an Iridescent Vine Claw or a Hired Claw, and then like play out your hand, or you save it till turn 3 and then play a 3-drop afterwards with the 1 leftover mana. It's pretty amazing to be able to flood the board. You do have to worry about board wipes and things like that, but if you can get this off on turn 2, your biggest threat is going second and then the opponent having a temporary lockdown. That does happen, unfortunately, sometimes, and that hurts, but for most matchups, getting to just drop your whole hand on turn 2 is pretty crazy and really hard to combat. We've got the Fiberglass Mentor, one of the many cards in this deck that helps you continue to get cards after your main phase, essentially. It allows you, at the beginning of your second main phase, if an opponent lost life this turn, to exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them, and until the end of the turn you may play that card. If you have this out on the field, you may want to save any of your card plays for the turn until your second main phase, specifically to make use of whatever you get from the Fiberglass Mentor. Flamecash Gecko, also, since I didn't mention it, has a ability where you can pay 2, discard a card, and draw a card, another way for you to essentially keep cycling cards in your hand and keep the gas flowing if you need to card draw. Assuming that you don't have anything that you want at the time, but that can be difficult. If you've got an Iridescent Vine Lasher out on the field, land is still super effective for you, and can get you to something like a Virtue of Persistence faster if you need it, so you may not always want to discard it, and but if you do, or say you just have a cut down that's proven useless and you really need a creature, I mean, like, there are a lot of options with the Flamecash Gecko that are super helpful too. We have Gev, the Scaled Scorch. This is a legendary creature, so you don't necessarily have to run it as a 4-of, but it is such a good creature and such a targeted creature. It's one that people want to get rid of so immediately that I still run a playset of it. It has a ward of pay 2 life. It's a 3/2 for 1 red and 1 black. And other creatures you control enter with an additional 1/1 counter on them for each opponent who lost life this turn. Whenever you cast a lizard spell, Gev Scaled Scorch deals 1 damage to target opponent. So another crime synergy here, very useful. But then on top of that, it also has a ward, a little bit of protection. It will usually still be shot, but I said before, a very good way of doing this is to have him out on the field, have a Scales of Shale in your hand, let someone pay the ward to take damage and then make it indestructible for turn. It is a very common occurring thing that you can do. We've got Valley Flamecaller. If a lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1 instead. That might sound insignificant, but when you have things like Gev Scaled Scorch, Hired Claw, and Iridescent Vine Lasher with abilities that all ping for 1, all becoming a ping for 2, on top of all now essentially being 1 additional damage on attack, you may attack with a 2/2 that seems very unassuming that you don't mind losing and take out a creature with a 3 power that your opponent controls, or even have something that can kill something with a 4 power when you come into the Valley Flamecaller, or 5 power when you come with the Laughing Jasper Flint. So these become immensely useful blockers at that point, and I could be wrong, I would have to test it to be sure, but I think the additional damage dealt by the lizard counts towards Scales of Shale's lifelink. Because it is the lizard dealing the damage, the lifelink should trigger off of any of the abilities that are getting pumped by the Valley Flamecaller as well. So, just something to keep in mind. I'd have to test it a bit more to play around with it and confirm that, but it is something I have seen that seems to happen. And then, obviously, we've got Laughing Jasper. Very, very good. Also another card that immediately wants to be killed by your opponent if it's out on the battlefield, and if it is left to run amok for too long, it will absolutely dominate games. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. This matters because of the second part of his ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. So, every creature that you control in this deck is an outlaw. Every single one of these lizards, the Valley Rockcaller, all of it are outlaws already, because they're warlocks, they are mostly warlocks. There's a lot of warlocks in here. You got mercenary, you got assassin, and you got rogue. All of these are outlaws, so all of them synergize with this ability. And then you also have on top of that any creatures that you steal because they do not belong to you, whether it be from Laughing Jasper or Virtue of Persistence, become outlaws as well because of Jasper's first half of its ability. So, essentially, this is going to steal cards from your opponent, give you additional ammo in hand each turn that you can play from your opponent's cards, whether that be their removal, their creatures. The only thing it doesn't give you is their land, but that gives you, when you already have Fiberglass Mentor as well, and Flamecash Gecko, a lot of different options. And then, like I said, if somehow you still don't have anything to do, you can still pump mana into Hired Claw to make it bigger as well. Land base is pretty self-explanatory. We got swamps, we got mountains, Blackcleave Cliff, and Sulphurous Springs. Nothing new with those. Sulphurous Springs can kind of suck when you're in an aggro matchup, but sometimes the mana fixing's just worth it. You've got Cavern of Souls. There are non-creature spells in this that can sometimes catch up on, but having all of your creatures minus maybe the Rockcaller, you could easily call Warlock on a second one of these and then have most of your lizards not counterable as well as the Rockcaller, because as I just said, there's a lot of these that are Warlocks. So that is a sub-archetype you could take into consideration that covers a majority of your creatures, all of these. Just not Jasper, Gev, Hired Claw, and Vine Lasher. But, so that's a good option as well. So Lizard and Warlock. For Cavern of Souls to work out. And then I have 2 Fabled Passage. You could run more, or you could run none. It doesn't really matter. I've got 2 in this case because of Iridescent Vine Lasher. Getting those extra land triggers are sometimes helpful. This can be a bit annoying when you want to go fast, though, and it's, say, in your early hand and you need a red or something. But if you're a little bit careful with your opening hand, that shouldn't even matter. But anyway, that's the deck. I'm very, very happy with how this one turned out. I experimented with it for a while, and my version having just a touch more life gain in it than you would see from your average lizard deck really helps its survivability, in my opinion. And I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I will be playing ranked. I'll probably go up at least 1 or 2 ranks just so that I can get a good pool of matches to showcase the deck. I'll go ahead and jump into that now, though. I hope you guys are excited for it. Alright, opening hand looks pretty good. No Flame Cash Gecko, but we can go straight into the Iridescent Vine Lasher, so I'm pretty okay with it. We'll keep that, and we're going first, which is awesome. To start off, I guess I should go ahead and mention the name of the deck. I've called it the Gila Monster, which is for anyone who's not familiar, is a venomous lizard, the only venomous lizard in the United States. It is a red and orange, or orange and black, or red and black lizard, so that's already thematically accurate to this deck. But then it's deadly, as is this deck, and is also said that the venom feels extremely like lava running through your veins when you've been bit, so, you know, red and black synergy there too. So I wanted to come up with a creative name for this deck, and am calling it the Gila Monster. So, opponent went straight for removing our Iridescent Vine Lasher. It sucks, but since we didn't have a Flame Cash Gecko this time, it didn't necessarily slow us down any. Got a Swift Spear coming in. I'd be surprised if he doesn't just run it in. Okay. Let's go ahead and attack first. If he does nothing, we'll probably... or if he kills it, we'll probably just go Valley Flamecaller. But yeah. No surprise there, but we've guaranteed that he can't do that next. So we'll go ahead, let's go Lizard, and do Flamecaller. Now, I probably will block just to slow down the opponent's momentum, but at this point, he's going to have to use something like a Lightning Strike to kill the Flamecaller. It's going to be a lot harder, and it will still deal 4 damage to his Swift Spear, so he's going to have a harder time surviving. Okay, so we've got Slick Shot Show Off coming in for 1. Not really a huge threat. Go ahead and go Fabled Passage. Bring out Jasper. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to go for a Mountain because they're much less frequent in this deck. Only got 2 of them. Don't need it this second, but we'll go ahead and attack with the Flamecaller. This is essentially a race right now, and I would love to get one of my life gain options to either remove a creature, pump one of my creatures for damage, things like that. But we'll see if we get the ability to do so. Got some big damage coming in, obviously. If he attacks with the Swift Spear, I'll probably still block it. Yeah, okay. It's pretty good there. No big deal. Maybe we get some of his stuff. Ooh, that's nice. That's really nice. So let's go ahead and go here. I'm going to go ahead and put Ruckus on my Jasper. Do a little bit of that. And then we'll save the cut down to get rid of one of the flyers. Let's go ahead, do that now, so that he can't potentially beat it out next turn. Got another Show Off. And a Lightning Strike to my face. He's just trying to get in as much damage as possible, but it's nowhere near enough to kill me. Yeah, so we just get an easy win here against Mono Red. So there you go. You get to see a good showcase of the deck, absolutely demolishing Mono Red. Alright, everybody. Coming into Game 2 here. I'm going to mulligan this, though it does look usable. This is much worse. I'm going to mulligan one more time, unfortunately. Really just want to get a decent setup of land, and then I'll be good to go. I think this is fine, and we'll get rid of the Fiberglass Mentor and the regular Swamp. Go with a Black Cleave into Hired Claw. So we've got some options still here. That hurt a lot, though. That was rough. think I'm gonna go this way. Go with Flame Cache and use its mana to pump the Hired Claw a bit. This one may be a harder matchup. We're playing up against blue-white. They most likely do have temporary lockdown or counter spell, so they may counter whatever I try to play next turn unless I can get one. Well, never mind. They didn't save anything for that. Let us go ahead then. Play Mountain, Flame Caller. Just go right in. He can't block anything safely. Apparently he thinks he can. Okay. Got a Flame Cache. I think we're going to do the same thing and pump the Hired Claw again. Let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to save popping that until a bit later. Maybe not. Yeah. Could get extra damage out by going ahead and pumping the Hired Claw now. Don't think I want to, though. I could be playing too aggressively for the fact that we are up against someone that's probably going to board wipe. But let's go ahead and play Flame Cache now. Okay. Pretty okay with that, actually. And just end the turn. So he tried to stall me for one turn. It didn't really do much, in my opinion, because all I was going to do was pump my Hired Claw anyway. Okay, so we've got a land. This time I'm going to save the land. Let's get a swamp this time. We've got one more mountain in there, but that's alright. Okay. Pretty okay with that, though. That's going to kill both of those, and I'm going to go ahead and pump this damage. I don't need to. I don't have to. But I think that's fine for right now. Now we get this for free. Oh, yeah. So, game 2, another win. So far, it's going really well. And you can see what I was saying. This deck is really strong. That's why I said I'll probably go for 2 rank ups, because I don't see having much trouble getting 1 so far. So we'll probably get 2 ranks in this video, showcase as many matches as possible out of that. I don't want to play for too long. Alright, coming into game 3. We don't have any black source, which could be problematic, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. There's definitely some fun to be had here, and I'll go Cavern of Souls Warlock, since I have my Squirrel, and probably try running it out quickly. The question here is, do I pump damage? Could Vine Lasher? If I was to go with the Mentor, I don't think it would be helpful here. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go Warlock. Get out the Valley Rock Caller. And attack for essentially 2 with the Hired Claw for now. Argument could have been made for just pumping it, getting a little more damage in, but I don't think it's worth it right now. The Valley Rock Caller is going to have Menace and help a lot with dealing damage going forward if we need it. So I do want land here. First things first, then I'm going to go Fiberglass. Can't be countered because of the Warlock. We do still have land options available here with the Fabled Passage, but I would really like to get maybe even just like a black mana, something like that right now would be huge. No land pulls, which is pretty disappointing. We'll go ahead and play this, and I'll probably crack it next turn. Opponent is gaining back some life, as well as getting some more land going. Resolve. Basically playing on full control here with this Fabled Passage. Alright, so that hurts. Let's go ahead then and do... I didn't mean to do that. That was really unfortunate for me. But let's get a black. And go ahead this way. I think this time I'm gonna save it, but I'm gonna go ahead and hit and then see about what I get from my fiberglass. Yeah, let's just go with this and go here. See what the opponent's got. A board wipe would be devastating right now. I don't know that it has one of those, but because there's no white here, it's just blue and green. Looks like he's going to get more land, which I think that means we just win. Because just going for land is a little too slow against lizards. My horse is stomping mad about it. Let's give it an apple. I love this mount, or this horse, by the way. Absolutely love it. Alright, so let's go Black Cleave. Hired Claw, and just swing for the win at this point. There are arguments that could be made for the creature, or the village lands. Okay, he's going to try and bring that back to my hand. This still probably just kills, though, doesn't it? Yeah, easily. I didn't even need to pump it. So, there's 3 wins in a row. Already got our first rank up off of it. I realize I'm in silver, but I mean, I don't play ranked a lot, to be honest. I mostly just experiment with these decks and try to play around and have fun. I've been playing a lot with the Scavenger's Talent and Rottenmouth Viper. Those cards are phenomenal, but they're not aggro, so very different archetype from what I'm playing right now. But anyway, let's go on into the next match. Alright. Pretty happy with this, all things considered. We've got some early Iridescent Vine Lashers. Yeah, let's go ahead. Opponent may be doing something similar. Not lizards, it doesn't look like, but an aggro deck nonetheless. Let's go ahead and start here. Go lizard. Bring out the Vine Lasher. This could be really painful. I don't have any removal or life gain in hand right now, so there's a very strong chance I could just get blown out while I'm trying to set up. I don't know why you did that. Let's go ahead, go with another Vine Lasher, Swamp, get a little extra damage there, and attack. Kind of played into that nicely. We gain a little bit of life. We are going to lose life from getting shot, but we cleared out his annoying mouse as well before it had a chance to get bigger. We really need land now. So probably first things first, I'm going to be playing my Fiberglass Mentor and trying to fish for a land if I don't get one right away. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely the play. We're going Fiberglass Mentor, swinging and going for a land. We've got a Fabled Passage. Not ideal, but it will get us some extra damage this turn. Let's go Mountain just to make sure I round out my mana. And I will be blocking with Fiberglass Mentor probably. I know it won't matter because it'll give it Trample, but I need to block some of the damage coming in. Yeah, giving it Trample, no big surprise. Still had to do what I could to mitigate. But I'm hurting bad, need life. The Squirrel is a way I could get life. But I think we gotta go Valley Flamecaller here, attack in, and that at least gives me a strong blocker, if he doesn't just outright kill me here. The Rock Caller would have been nice a lot earlier, getting us life before it got to the stage, but what can you do? Go ahead and blow that out. This, I think we go Fiberglass Mentor, try and get some more land. Go Fabled Passage. Go ahead and play this, get a little extra triggers off the Fabled Passage. There we go. Got another win. That one was very close, but the third Vine Lasher coming in clutch for us. Got 4 wins straight now. The Gila monster, or Gila monster, is coming in strong, taking these people out. This one looks pretty great. I've got no complaints. I'll probably start with the Vine Lasher just because my Hired Claw would require the Sulphurous Springs, but let's go for this for now. First, we'll go Vine Lasher. If he kills it, it'll be a little disappointing. Doesn't look like a kill spell. Alright, so what do we want to do here? Let's go Sulphurous Springs. Flame Cash Gecko. Flame Cash Gecko. Hired Claw. Iridescent Vine Lasher. And attack! Okay, we block. No questions asked. Okay, Fabled Passage. Now we're gonna go for a mountain. Get rid of this rabbit so we've got open attacks. And the opponent's at 7. But I am out of a hand. Seems like the opponent's trying to be particular about how they use their mana, given the fact that they are low on life now. Still took some damage from doing that. They've got 2/3s now, or two 2/3s now, I should say. Let's go ahead. Just attack with the claw. If he decides to block it, I'll pump my lizard to keep it alive. Because the Flame Cash Gecko isn't going to be as useful as just not taking damage, or not losing the Hired Claw. He's got a board presence now, but if he attacks, it always loses. So that's the downside. Let's just go Jasper and wait. Even if he attacks at this point, I'm not really at a big threat, and he just loses for doing so. Those are some big bunnies with trample, though. You sending in the trample bunnies? Yeah, I'm not even blocking them. Got literally no reason to. Alright, we got some options here. Let's go land and get a little bit of damage in. Now he's basically dead. What do we got here? Could generate blockers from that. Let's do this. If even just one damage gets through, I win. If not, I die. I don't have any trample right now, so this may be just unfortunate for me, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It looks like I'm still getting through one. Nothing he can do about it. Maybe I'm just looking wrong. Yeah, no, I thought I was attacking with that Flame Cash too. So I lose here. There's nothing I can do, I don't think. We'll see, but him having the trample bunnies is really going to be the end for me. Let's go ahead, block here, and block here. Pretty sure I'm still dead. Yep. So, sadly, our first loss got him down to 1 HP, but I don't think there's any way we could have survived that other than getting one more damage in. Alright, what do we have? Without any black mana, I don't think this is good enough to keep. This is much better. I just don't know what to get rid of. I think it's going to be the Rock Caller, but that's a tough call for me. Opponent is going first, which is sad. But they are hurting themselves a little bit, so they're helping me out. He could have pumped it, it's the reason I didn't block. It would have just killed my Vine Lasher, which I didn't want. Obviously doing pretty much the exact same thing as me, but let's go ahead and go Lizard. Get Gev out here. And then next we'll probably start by trying to blow up some of his stuff. Flame Cash, very nice. It doesn't get it through. Oh no, it does, because Gev, right? Cruel Claw. Surprising to see. Okay. So I'm gonna go here. And here, go ahead and get rid of Gev. And then we may have to block the Cruel Claw, honestly, because that thing's a threat. I think I let it through, though. He's not got a lot to discard, and I know the deck well enough to know that there's not any big bombs that I'm really afraid of in it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But this is a fun iteration, too. Very different. He's running the Cruel Claw instead of the Rock Collar, which can let some interesting stuff happen, I suppose. Land. What do we want to do? Probably this. We don't have any good draw mechanics, unfortunately. Gonna have to hold back, keep up blockers at this point. Now I don't mind to block things. Happy to block the Hired Claw at this point. Or Cruel Claw with the Hired Claws. That sucks. That hurts. He's still only killing one of us, but it still sucks. Really could use something other than land to draw here. This game doesn't like me. Let's go Warlock, not that it matters, just to mix it up. Happy to go for another block against the Cruel Claw. Got a Vile Smasher, which I really like, but he's obviously doing more of an outlaw synergistic deck rather than what I'm doing. This is obnoxious. This is really, really obnoxious. I'm losing this one because I got flooded. Yeah, this is over. Getting nothing but land really just destroyed me there.